Hey, if you're new in this channel, welcome. If not, welcome back. So today I'm going to teach you how you can build this e-commerce UI that allows the users to filter products. As you can see, we have these filters on the left-hand side, and the user can use one or several options. So maybe the user is looking for some vans, and the products change, of course. Now, maybe the user wants to buy also some men fitness products. Looks like there's none. And also some longboards. Okay? And now, maybe the user wants to, I don't know, organize these products from the most expensive one to the cheapest one. Now the user wants to clear all the filters, and now maybe the user wants to look for woman fitness clothes and Brazilian bikinis. And now once again, maybe the user wants to check what are the cheapest prices, so they can sort the prices from low to high. As you can see, you have a lot of options, and you can combine several ones. And if the product or products exist, we display them, of course. If not, we display a message. For example, I know that this category has no products. And because of that, we display this message to the user. And the user can click here and to see all the products again. So this is what we are going to be building today. Okay, so let's set up our project really quickly. So I'm gonna copy this text, I'm gonna paste it here, I'm gonna add a dot and a /, press enter. The source, we are going to be building just the UI, but if you were to develop the backend part for this project, you will select the source folder option, okay? Because inside the source folder, you will have, for example, your models, your middleware, stuff like that, okay? But because we are going to develop the front-end part only, we don't need it. So I'm going to say no to it. Upper router, of course, and I do not want to customize the default import. Okay, cool. Right, so the installation has finished, and I do not need this anymore. Okay, before we run our development server, it's a good time for us to install the couple of packages that we need. I'm gonna press enter. Let's move on and create the custom components that we need. I'm gonna create my components directly inside the app. And the last one that I'm going to need for the moment is going to be the filters. So I'm gonna click here and I'm gonna call it Filters.tsx. As you can see here, we are also going to need plenty of images for building this project. So I'm gonna go inside my public folder and just paste the images necessary for this project. I believe I forgot to mention and to show you, but of course the add to cart button won't be working because we will not have any backend part for this project, as I mentioned it before. But for each of these products, if you click on that button, you will see actually the real product on a real website. So if I click here, I will be opening the real website with the real product. And this is valid for every single product that we have listed here. So this is the way that I found to make this button work. Of course, to take you somewhere, to link to a given place, given page, and also to give credits for these images and products. Okay, the next thing that I want to do is to work on the root page of our project, so our home page. Okay, so I'm gonna start the development server. So npm run dev. Okay, close this. As usual, we want to get rid of whatever it's inside this return. Cool. So now we can go to localhost 3001, I believe. Let me just double check. Okay. Okay, looks like there's a problem. So npm run dev. Okay, I have a problem. Oh, it's the node version. It's required to update. So I need to do this and come back. Okay, the problem is now solved. So I stopped this video and actually recorded another video on how to update your Node.js version in case you don't know how to do it yourself. So if you need that help, just check my 2-minute video linked below. Now that the problem was fixed, I can now run the development server and continue where we left. So npm run dev. Okay, back to business. So now we can work on our root page, our home page. Okay. So what I want to do here is actually to include our 3 main components. Okay, now I'm going to change this div to a main tag. Now I'm going to need another div. Okay, and this is all we need. Next, we need a file where we can store all of the information about our products. So the image, the title, the description, the price, and all of that. And what I'm going to do is copy paste my array with all of those objects. So let's take a quick look at this really quickly, shall we? Okay, so as you can see, all of our products, of course, have a unique ID, a title, a description, a price, and then colors. We have an array that can have multiple colors. Sizes, it's another array with multiple sizes. Categories, the image, where I'm getting this image from, and this image is coming from our public folder. Created at, and this is the link that takes the user to the correspondent product to the real website. And if the product has the boolean true for the countdown, it means we'll add a countdown to it, as we can see here for the first product. Okay, now it's time for us to start building the UI. So let's start by displaying the products inside the product grid. Okay, imports ready. Here at the top, it's time for us to build the grid where we will display our products inside. So this div, I'm gonna style it right away. Cool, this is going to be our grid, and now we need to basically map through our products. Now I want to loop through my products array, and for that I will be using map. Of course, this is just the basic syntax. All I'm doing is using map to loop through the products, and I'm providing the key, which is going to be the product ID, because each product has its own ID. Okay, right here I'm gonna also style it right away. So this one is going to be, okay, this is my boilerplate, and now we see the images on the page as expected. And inside this div, I'm gonna check if the product has a countdown or not, because if you remember, we have here, and I can actually maybe put it here for a small reference. So countdown, if the countdown is true, and I'm gonna check that, I want to do something. I want to add a badge here saying on sale. If not, that is not going to happen. And I'm also noticing that there's some CSS going here, so I'm actually gonna go the CSS that came with installation. So I'm looking for my globals.css, and I'm actually gonna delete all of this, excluding the Tailwind rules at the top, of course. So now what I need to do is to check inside this div if the product has a countdown and if that's the case, we add the badge on sale. So we need a bit of logic. One more time, I'm grabbing one more time, because I'm already inside products, I can just grab my product. This is the base syntax, okay? I always like to write this first and then write the logic inside so I know where I'm at. And if we refresh, we can see now some of the items already have that, okay? Which is cool. But I need to style this, so class name, okay? Cool. So I can see a couple of typos already, so let's fix this. First, I was typing all of these classes inside this, and I need to add the bold. Okay, better. Let's work inside this div. Let's start by styling it. And in here, I'm gonna use this div to render the product title, the product description, price, and all of that. So I'm gonna start with a P, and I want to style this right away so I don't forget. And we see the title here for each product, okay? There we go. The next thing that we need is a div, and inside this div I will for now just render the product price, but later I will need to add a countdown. So I'm actually gonna start by adding a comment here. Yeah, and this P is responsible for giving us the price. So product, as usual, dot price. We can access this, and then we can add the euro sign symbol, but we want, as you can see, this one as 200.02, 80, 21.9. We do not want this. We always want 4 digits. For that, we need to add something to the price here. So we want the price to be fixed to 2 decimal places. So 2 fixed. This is just a JavaScript thing. Okay, and this should fix our problem. Now we always have 4 digits, no matter what. Cool. That's what I was looking for. And we see this changing. Cool. So this is good for now, but below this div, okay, we actually need another div. Padding top of 3. And I want to use an A tag. I mean, we are importing the link tag, so we could actually use the link tag, but yeah, I'm gonna use the A tag. Doesn't really matter. It's not wrong, but it's not so usual. It's not the best option to go with, but I'm gonna go with this. And this is going to wrap a button. Okay, so there's our button. Okay, inside the button, I'm gonna add the text add to, right? And this one that we are going to need, and I'm gonna put it right here. Okay. Have we installed the icons? Euro icons, yeah, looks like. So why is this complaining? So looks like there's a problem with this import. So I'm thinking that I might have installed the wrong package of something. I have the hero icons here, I was just checking, but I think this is not the best one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to crash the server, I'm going to clear, then what I'm going to do is to uninstall this. So npm uninstall. Yeah, you sometimes have to uninstall things. So I guess I'm going to get rid of this. Gone. And now I am going to install the other package. So as you can see, I am struggling to install the hero icons package for React. Okay, looks like somehow I had a problem and I had to run a specific command to get this up and running. I'm not really sure if this relates to me updating the Node.js version or anything. It might be just a coincidence, but it's the second time in this video that I face problems that I never had before. So no worries. So I opened npm to make sure that I was installing the correct thing. And now looks like this has installed successfully. So I'm going to run the development server and see if this is either working or not. Let's see. Looks like it's not complaining about that import anymore. Hopefully it's fixed. If not, I will go and use other icons because I'm not gonna. Oh, okay, I have the icon. Okay, horrible, but I have the icon. Okay, live debugging, not so easy, but yeah. So now we can go back and basically what I need to do is to style this icon because this looks horrible, right? So I'm gonna style it. So I want to give it a width of 6, a height of 6 to make it way smaller. The class inline block, okay, and margin left of 2. Okay, finally. And I also see a problem here, so I need to also check the code because this banner should be way smaller than it is. Okay, so as you can see here, it's really big. So I need to see where I went wrong, but apart from that, we now at least are able to render the products, the 8 products that we have. So I can actually also work on the NavBar, so this starts to look a bit more to the final version of this project. So I'm going to check what I did wrong here and I'll come back. Okay, looking closely to this div, I now know where the problem is. So this on sale should be way smaller, and this is the P, and I actually forgot to add absolute here, and this should fix my problem, and it does. Cool. Now at least we have the products rendered on the page. Time to add the navbar. This should be good, and now in here we can really start working. So I'm going to need a couple of divs, 1 and 2. The link is going to the root page, so href, it's going to be the root page. Okay, so when you click the logo, you are taken to the root. There you go. And now I want to style this, so I can go and say class name. So yeah, this is okay-ish, I guess. Let me just, okay, this is in the center. Oh, of course it's in the center because I have no content for the other div yet. I believe I'm not forgetting anything, so here I'm gonna style this div right away. So with the text that I'm not gonna type, of course, I'm gonna just copy paste, right? I need to go and say text slate. There's a typo. Be aware of the typos. Padding while 5. So this is now working just the way that I wanted. Okay, cool. So, and as you can see, I got rid of the nav tag because we are not going to use it anyways. So now it's a good time to continue, and we can and should actually work on our custom component, the countdown timer that you see over here. And for that, we need to create a new component. So app, and I'm going to call this one countdown.tsx. So now the first thing that I want to do is to make sure that we have installed the countdown package, that one over here. Cool. This is what I was looking for. So this is going to be simple. We basically need to grab our countdown over here. That can be styled right away. Class name, font bold, text 1XL, text red 500. Cool. But for this countdown component to work, we need to pass a date to it. So we need to pass a date. Okay. So we need to go outside and let me think. We need to create a const for this date, and I'm gonna call this one, I don't know, promotion ends, whatever, or Black Friday ends, whatever you want. This is going to be equal to a new date. So this is just a JavaScript thing, and the ending date for this case, it's going to be 2023 this year. The month, it's going to be 12 this month, and the day, it's going to be 25. So we can now pass this date. Okay, and this looks all good. I believe this is good. And I'm just going to format the document, but this is good. Of course, we do not see anything in here. Why is this? Because yes, we created a component, but we are not calling the component inside our product grid. And if you remember, we left a comment. So product grid, there you go, countdown here. Okay, and now we can bring this component inside this div, countdown. We are definitely getting errors with this approach, but I'm also thinking that I do not want a countdown on every single product the way that we have here. Okay, I want to display the countdown only if the product is on sale, because if you remember, if you go to our product list, so each product is going to have a countdown boolean for true or false. And if this is true, then I want to display the countdown. Else, I do not want to do anything with it. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is actually to come up with that logic. And the first thing is to check if the product, so we are grabbing the product, and one more time we are mapping through the products, and I'm grabbing the product here. As you can see, we can see the boolean here. So I can grab the product and check if the product actually has a countdown or not. So countdown. Let's just refresh. Okay. And now we only get the countdown on the products that are actually on sale. And that's what we were trying to accomplish. So this is good, but I am not convinced. Oh, there you go. When you refresh, you run into another problem. So let's see. Okay, so we have this problem. And when I was building this project, I actually got stuck here for a while. And then I realized that your front end and your back end, there's a delay between the time. So there's like a split second difference. And that is what is causing the text to do not match. Okay, and I'm not sure if this is actually the best approach, but I did a little research and I came up with a way. So according to my research, in order to fix these errors, I needed to disable the server-side rendering for the component to avoid these hydration issues. There you go, hydration error, okay? So I'm not sure if this is the best approach or not. I'm just gonna basically copy-paste what I did in my project, okay? And if this is not the best approach, you let me know in the comments section below. So now instead of rendering my countdown, I will be rendering my dynamic countdown instead, okay? So I can grab it from here, and as you can see, the server-side rendering is set to false, so we don't get that conflict. And instead of passing my countdown, I can pass this instead. The arrow is gone, and if I keep refreshing and all of that, even if I restart the project, I believe, so I'm going to crash the server, clear npm run dev. I really believe that this problem was fixed by doing it this way. Yeah, it is a bit confusing, but yeah, you're watching a video. You can always go back and recheck what I did and what I just explained it to you. In the meantime, I'm just noticing something that annoys me. As you can see in our tutorial, we have this browser scroll bar that I actually hate, okay? And in our final version, we do not have that, okay? So we got rid of that. So that's what I want to do. So I have some code, copy it to my clipboard, and I'm looking for the globals.css, and this is the only code that I will be writing for this globals.css file. And that, as you can see, got rid of the browser's scroll bar. Still, obviously, we can scroll as usual. Cool, amazing. Now the fun begins. It's time for us to work inside our filters component, okay? And we will have plenty of code. So we need to have the UI and also the logic. So I'm gonna go and I will try to organize this in the best possible way. So the first thing that I'm gonna do is actually to copy paste some imports that, of course, I know that will be needed, okay? And because we are using React hooks, we need to use the use client here at the top. That's all normal. So now if you look at here, we have like the text for all of these options, right? And then we have the checkboxes and the radio buttons and all of that. So first, let's try to render the UI, which is all of these texts, to the screen. Then we'll try to implement the logic. I mean, we will do all of that. So for that, what I'm going to do is to copy paste some stuff first. So I'm not going to obviously type all of this and make you look at my screen, obviously. So yeah, this is what we need. And if we check, this is the text: new arrivals, price, blah, 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 and then the product categories, and then the product colors, blah, blah, blah. So all of this text is getting managed from this, okay? This array contains all of these texts. So I can actually make this smaller so we see where we are at. But we need more stuff. So the next thing that I want to do is to create an array for the filterable options, right? Because each option will have an ID, name, not a number, a title, a filter type, which is going to be a radio or a checkbox, and all of that. So I'm just going to copy paste that also. Okay, this is what we need to work with. And as you can see, this sort by products categories. So this is the sort, this is the categories, these are the colors, and so on. And then each filter has a type, right? This one, the sort, is a radio button. And radio buttons, the thing about them is that you can only select one at a time, in case you didn't know. But when you deal with checkboxes, On the other hand, you can select multiple ones if you want to, okay? So this is why we have this filter type, and we have checkboxes everywhere, excluding here where we use the radio button. So let's continue this. What I want to do next is to go inside our filters custom component and add this clear all filters button. Call span2 space y6 top 12. The height is going to be fit, and I want this to be sticky, not static, sticky. I'm gonna go with the button, and this is good. So basically, when the user clicks here, basically what it does is it reloads the page. So that part is done, and we can continue. What I now want to do is actually to map the filterable options array. Okay, and as you can see, each object gets one ID, a title, the options, and the filter type. So let's start right there. So I'm gonna actually grab my filterable options right here, and I want to map it. Okay, now we have our base syntax in place. Style this outer div, giving it a border to the bottom, and a padding also, padding bottom, padding also to the bottom. Okay, cool. Now we can, I want to display the title here. So I want to display this title, sort by, products category, blah, 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 blah. That's what I want to do. So for that, I need to have a P. I mean, I'm going to go with the P. I'm going to style it right away so I don't forget it. Class name. And this should, yeah, there you go. We are seeing the title. Okay, not too bad so far. Below that, we need to have a div. And this div will hold a lot of things. Not a lot of things, but some things. So I'm actually going to style it. Class name, cool. And inside here, I want to map my options. Okay, I want to map my options. So options dot map, and what do I want? I want to get each value. So value. So I can the value. I can finish this syntax. Yeah. And now I want to return something. I'm gonna return just an empty React fragment for now. Okay, cool. So I want to return something. I actually want to return a couple of functions that I do not have yet. So what I'm gonna do is to create, because I need a function for the checkboxes and the radio buttons, and I need a function for the checkbox and the radio items. And because we are using TypeScript, I will also need to have the correspondent interfaces. So I believe I gotta go up here, and yeah, I can go somewhere here, and I'm gonna start by declaring the two interfaces that are going to be necessary for the functions. So interface, cool, and I'm gonna have my children react dot react node should do. Yeah. So this is my first interface, and I'm gonna then create the other interface. So interface, and inside I'm gonna have my label, which is going to be a string. So now it's time to define a couple of functions that I will need inside my return here, and I will be passing the interfaces to those functions. Okay, so I'm gonna start by defining them here. So the first one, and be aware of the typos, and in here what I'm gonna have is my children, and I need to pass the filter using checkbox blah 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 interface here, so I get rid of that error, and I can now finish this syntax. As you can see, the error is gone, of course, and I can basically return a div, and this div will be for the filters column, because I want to change the text on over, stuff like that. So I want to return. Okay, and I need to pass my children. I'm gonna grab my children, and I'm gonna pass my children inside this function, and this looks good to me. We now need to build the other function, which is going to check, which is going to be for the checkbox and the radio items. So checkbox and radio item. Okay, by returning a div. So I want to return a div, and this div will contain input, and below that it's going to contain a label. There you go. So format document, and I can now I don't need any styling for this. What I need to do is to provide the ID for this input, which is going to be the ID. Okay. I need to style this a bit, so class name, and I need to go, and what I'm gonna do is to define the size for this, so the width and the height. So the width is going to be 5, the height is going to be 5, so it's a square, and I do not want to shrink it, so shrink 0 and a margin right of 3, so the text is not too close from the radio or the checkbox. The label itself needs an attribute, which is the HTML4, and once again I'm going to be providing the ID, and I'm going to be passing the label inside the label, and HTML4. What the heck is this? I need to provide the ID. Sorry, my bad. And I also need to style it. Class name to be that big, this text. Now that I have the functions in place and the correspondent interfaces, I can go here again and return those. So I can go here, and inside this return, instead of this empty React fragment, I can grab my checkboxes and radio buttons. Where do I have it? Function, checkbox and radio buttons. Okay, boom, cool. And it's complaining, it's the type, no, it's the, okay, missing key. Okay, so of course we need to provide a unique key, and in this case it's going to be the value that I'm grabbing from here, and it's a bit more readable to me. Okay, now I need to pass the other function, which is the checkbox and radio item. This is actually a self-closing one. Boom. And in here, it's gonna complain because I do not have the value the label, okay, whatever, doesn't matter. We'll go back to this. So this is what we need for the moment. I mean, we can in fact continue because we now have access to this information. So I can pass the type, and the type is going to be the filter type. So the filter type, okay. And I can pass the name, which is going to be the ID, and I can pass the label, which is going to be the value, okay. And I can also pass the ID, which is coming from the value, and I need to convert this into a lowercase. So everything inside our URL, all the parameters are converted to lowercase in all of the options. So I'm gonna grab the value and I want to convert to lowercase, right? And then I want to actually trim it. Okay, and what else? I can also grab the value, and this is going to be coming again from the value dot to lowercase, one more time, to lowercase, and again I'm gonna also trim it. Okay, we need to pass more stuff here, but for that we also need more stuff, so let's move on. Right, in order for me to do not get lost inside of the code and get a bunch of errors, I'm thinking that the best approach from this point on is to actually add the remaining logic that we need inside our filters components and then go from there. So for that, I'm going to define a few constants, and I'm going to explain them to you briefly. So we're going to need to use the use router. We need to grab the parameters from the URL. It's not working here, of course, but in here we need to grab whatever parameters are inside the URL and all of that. And we need to select, we need to set the filter queries, all of that. So we need to do all of that. We also need to use the use effect. So I better, okay, use effect, it's good, it's there. So I'm going to define it right away so I do not get lost or confused, because this is a lot of code, as you can see by now. So use effect, the usual syntax, boom. And I want to define my params object. So I need a const. Oops, I need a const for my params object, obj. And I will have to save all user options, all user options. Okay, and I'm gonna be passing my search params. Okay, my search params to my params object. So I basically want to update my variable to my params object. Okay, and I need to pass the dependency array because I have the search params in here that I need to pass to it. So this is not defined yet. Save all user options. So we better do that now. The thing is that we are trying to use a function that is not yet defined. So we need to create and export this function because we want to use this function, but this function doesn't exist yet. And I forgot to add this, of course, because I scrolled up and down and I forgot. So no worries, we can fix this easily by creating this function. So I need to have my function called save all user options. Okay. And the thing with this function is we want to basically read the search parameters and save all of the options selected by the user. That's what we are trying to do. So we can now grab our search parameters, okay, and this is a read only URL search parameters, okay, and we can continue, whoops, not this syntax, and we can continue defining this function. As I said, this function needs to save the options selected by the user. Because if the user starts clicking in all of these options, you want to save all of this information. And we are going to do this by saving the information inside an object. So for that, I'm going to define a let variable, selected queries, right? And this is record, and it's a string, and a string array. No, what a typo there. Be aware of the typos, of course. And I can now close this, and this is going to equal an empty object to start with. Now I can use my search params one more time. I can use them, and for each of them, what I want to do, I want to get the values exactly, and also the key, right? And I need to finish this syntax, anonymous our function, boom. So now inside these search parameters, what I want is, when the user selects multiple options, I want to obviously save all of those options, but I want to separate them with a comma. So what I need to do is create a const for the queries. Queries are when you click here, you change the URL by adding the queries. So I have these queries const, and I'm gonna set these to the values that we are getting, and I want to split them by adding a comma between them. Cool. So now I need to check if I need to use the if else. So if, let me just write the base syntax, if else. So now what I want to do, I want to get my selected queries. I want to grab my selected queries, and I want to pass the key, right? And if this is true, I want to push this. If they are, I want to push, right, into my queries here. But I want to have, I want to keep all the queries that I add. Okay, so I'm spreading that. Else, all I want to do is to grab the selected query, and this is going to be equal to the queries. There's no update to it. So I need to, let me see, this is, yep, so the function is there, selected queries. I actually need to return, I'm gonna need to return the selected queries. And I think this is good for now. we are on the right path, but we still need a few more functions, because for us to finish this UI, we need to know what option is checked, right? And we need to select all of those filtered options. So we need functions to do that. And I'm actually missing a couple of functions, so I'm gonna go and do those functions. Outside the filters custom component, I need to create two more functions. So the first one I'm gonna create is a function that will check if the query is valid, which means how can we check this? So basically what we want to check if there's a query in the first place. So we'll check the query length, and if the length is bigger than 0, then we know there's something in the query, therefore there's a query. So we first check if there's a query, and then we do something with it. So for that, I'm going to create a function, and this function is going to be responsible for checking a valid query. Checking valid query, okay? And let me just do the basic syntax. And this one, what do I want? I want to grab my queries, and it's a string array, okay? And in here, I want to return something. Of course, functions typically return stuff. So I want to grab my queries, and I want to filter them, and I want to check something. What do I want to check? I want to check each query, and what I need to do is to make sure that the query is not empty. Therefore, if it's empty, there's no query, and if it's not empty, there's a query. A query can be valid or not, but there's a query as long as the length is bigger than 0. So what I'm going to do is query, and I'm going to make sure that it's not empty, so it's not an empty string, right? And then I'm going to check its length, and if this length is bigger than 0, then we have a query, okay? And then we need to check more stuff, but this is good for the moment. Now it's time for us to actually convert and validate the string queries, because here all we are doing is actually to check if there's a query at all, okay? Because if the length is bigger than 0, that means there's a query, okay? But when the length is not bigger than 0, we do not want to do anything with that query, because there's no query. But if it's bigger than 0, we want to grab the key and the value for that query. So I need to create another function here, right? Which is going to be called convert valid string queries. I know that these function names are quite long, but yeah, for me, I find it a bit easier to know what is what in all of this sea of code. So it's up to you. If you want to change this, you can get your hands on the source code and do the way you prefer. So now I'm grabbing my queries over here, right? And I need to set this to a records. This needs to be a string, and it's going to be string array. Yep, like that, and we can close this off. So first I'm going to define a let query, which is going to be initially at the starting point an empty string, okay? Because that's what happens. Initially it's always an empty string until it's not anymore and something happens. And what I'm going to do is I can actually, so I don't forget, I can actually already return my query, otherwise it will not work. And I can format the document. It doesn't matter, so I need to, of course, the syntax is wrong, that's why. Okay, cool. So what I want to do is I want to let, what I want to let is my key and value. So grab the key, the value, okay, of the object dot should have the entries. There you go, entries, and I'm going to be passing my queries to this object entries, and from here I can what I can do is I can define a query to be the query plus, oops, that's not a plus sign, plus now string literals template, because we want to pass variables inside it. So the syntax is this. I want to grab a query, and if this query is actually empty, which means there's no query, what I want to do with this, I want to do nothing. Else, I want to attach the ampersand symbol to it, and I also want to that I want to add my key and my value. So it's obviously a variable, so I need to use this syntax, and this is going to be my key, and the key is going to be equal to the value. So value. Hopefully I'm not messing up. I think I'm not. So this looks good for me. So let's then keep building our UI, and we can pass that information over here, I believe. So we will have to pass the selected filter options in here by using an onChange event, but before that we of course need to create that function. So function, and I'm gonna pass the event, which is going to be change event. This is going to be the HTML input element, HTML input element, right? And I can close this off, not like that, just like this. So I firstly need to define a few constants for the name, for the value, for the type. I better start by defining my constants. So for the name, I need to grab whatever is inside these inputs, of course, and save it into a variable in order to use. So I want to grab my event.target, and I'm grabbing the name like this, and I need to do the same for the value, and the value is going to be the value. And I need to do that also for the filter type. I need to know if it's a radio button or a checkbox. So filter type, and I need to grab not the value but the type. Okay, so now what I can do is I'm gonna just minimize this. Okay, I now need to create a new variable for the selected queries. Selected queries is equal to the selected filter queries. Is equal to the selected filter queries. Boom. Now I need to check all of this. I'm gonna need to use the if statement, which will actually nest plenty of stuff. So I need to know the selected queries, and I want to grab its name. Okay, I want to grab its name. And now in here, I'm going to check if. Now we need to check if it's a radio button or a checkbox. So I'm going to check the filter type. If the filter type is actually the type of radio, what I want to do with this is I want to get my selected queries. It's easier if I copy. I want to grab my selected queries and pass the name and the value. And I'm missing the S in here. There you go. So else if, what do I want to do? I want my selected queries name, and I want to check if this includes the value, and if that's the case, right, I want my selected queries name. Yeah, that's it. To be equal to the selected queries name, name. But this time I want to filter, so dot filter, and I want to filter the query. So I want to filter the query, right? Arrow function, and I want the query to check if the query it is not equal to the value. Okay. Yeah, this is good. But if the valid query, this one, if it's not equal to the valid query, this one right here, I want my selected queries, and I grab the name, and what I want to do in this case is to delete the selected query, selected queries, sorry, name. So remove the key if it has no values, basically. That's what I'm doing. And now I'm gonna keep chaining on this, and right here I can use the else statement, and I'm gonna get my selected queries, name, grabbing the name, and I want to push the value because now I know it's valid, it's all good, and I want to push the value. And in here, let's see if this chaining is not wrong. I want to, I'm doing a bunch of checks, of course. If the selected queries is true, what I want to do at the end of the day is to grab my selected queries, and you guessed it, name, and this is going to be equal to the value. Whew. After all of this, what I want to do is to basically use the router. Do we have the router? Oh yeah, use router. So yeah, and we are defining the router. We are initializing the router. So where am I? Okay. Now I want to use the router to push this. So router dot push, and I need to use the string literals template, because of course we will be passing variables because it's a dynamic URL, and go to here, and I want to grab my converted valid string queries. I want to grab it, and what I want to do with this is to pass my selected queries. And I'm going to pass a scroll to the boolean false. What the heck? So false. Oh, silly me, I cannot do it like this. I need to use an object, of course. So now it should work. There you go. Whew, not easy, but we did it. So let's continue. This is almost done. We are almost done here, okay? But we need another function, and then we can pass it here. So I went ahead and passed the onChange event. I just passed the selected filter options that we just finished, and we just did it here. And now I need to create one last function, which is going to be small, I promise you, to check if the option is checked, and we need to pass it here, and then this should all work and we can test it. So hopefully I didn't do anything wrong, because as you can see, this is pretty tricky. So let's continue. So option, I need to check if the option is checked. Option checked, and I need to provide, I need to get, I want the ID, which is going to be a string type, and option is going to be also a string type. We now can finish up this syntax, and I need to return, and what this is going to return, it's a boolean, right? And it's going to be the selected filter queries. I am lost again. Whatever. Selected filter queries. Oh my god. Selected filter queries. Yeah, I am tired, sorry. I'm grabbing this variable. I made a mistake, so I'm gonna redo. Okay, I'm grabbing that variable, and I need to grab its ID. And the selected filter queries again. Okay, I want to get the ID, and then I want to see if it includes the option, and I need to convert this to a lowercase, to lowercase. This simple. Whew. Not easy. Now we can finally go ahead and pass it right here. So we have already passed the onChange event. We now need to pass the checked to see if the option is checked, and we're gonna pass the is option checked. So is option checked, and we need to pass its ID and the value. And let's cross our fingers to see if this is all working or not. So arrivals, sorry, oops. Why can't I select this? Okay, there's a problem. Let me see what's going wrong. Well, I mean, we are done with the filter component, but we need to work still inside our product grid, because now that I solved this problem, we are looking at the product grid and we are just displaying the products coming from our array of objects. So this means we need to still work a little bit in here. So to be a bit faster, I'm gonna actually copy paste and update all of my imports, because I'm gonna need a few more things. And we need to work inside the product grid, the filter logic part. And I'm thinking before that, we actually gonna need another function. And to be a bit faster, I'm just gonna copy paste this. This function is going to check if the product is available or not. And this is it. I'm not gonna go over this. You can check this on your own because the source code will be linked below. Now we need to add the filter logic, and we need to use the search parameters to check. So I'm gonna define a const for search params, and in here I'm gonna use the use search params that we included at the top. We included that over here, of course, coming from next navigation. And now we need to also create another const for the params object, params obj, the object, and we need to use the save all user options, save all user options, yeah, that's it. And we want to pass our search parameters inside this. Okay, cool. So now we need to check. So now we need to check if when the user selects like all of these options, we need to check if these filtered products by the user, if actually this product is available or not. And we need to do this for the categories, the colors, and the sizes, and whatever options we have here. So let's just define this filtered products. It's going to equal the products, right? And I want to filter, and I want to check for each one, for each product, not products, just product. And let me just finish the syntax up. Okay. And we need to know if there are categories for this, if the product is available. So const, the const name is going to be as categories, okay? And we need to grab the product. We need to grab this function to see if the product is available, okay? and we need to access the product categories, and also, in case they are, the params object. So in case they are, so it's not mandatory. Categories. Okay. Now we need another const, and this const goes for the color. So what we are doing is basically with this we are filtering. First we are checking all the categories for the product, and then we are seeing if the category in the parameter is available or not, if there are products inside. The same for products, for the colors and all of that. We need one more for the sizes, because we need this for all of them. So we have categories, products, and product sizes. So the last one is going to be the product size. And finally, we need to return all of this. Okay, now we are checking all of these, checking the params in the URL when the user clicks. Oops. When the user clicks, we change the URL, and this is what we are checking. So as we can see, we are rendering our products coming from our products array. But now we should actually map our filtered products instead. Okay? But this is not going to work yet. We need to add still the sorting. So what I'm going to do is to create that. I'm going to create a filtered products. I'm going to set this to equal to filtered products sort, because that's what we are doing, right? We want to sort between product 1 and 2, for example, A or B, whatever. Product 2, and we now want to use a switch case to display this information. So I'm not gonna bother typing all of this, I'm just gonna paste this inside. Okay. Next, and this is almost done, I promise you. We need to check the object keys for the params object, this one right here. So if the object dot keys, and we need to pass this params object right here. No, I just want this. If the length equals to 0, we want the filtered products to be products. If there are no products found, we want to pass that message to the user. I'm actually going to copy paste this. This is the last bit. So if there are no products, we want to pass this to the user. And now that we are using the filtered products, not just the products coming from the array, this should be working. So let's see if this is working or not. So low to high, cool. High to low, cool. Let me just open this. Let's clear the filters. Let me just get the woman fitness products. And there's a problem there, so there's got to be a typo, longboard, so I'm not getting the categories. Okay, so green, okay, I'm getting green, so the categories are not working for some reason. The multicolor is also working. So if I can clear this, what about sizes? 7.5. There's no product, so looks like everything is working apart from these categories. So I need to check what's wrong. Yeah, this seems to be all working now, so problem solved. So let's give it a try one more time. So I want to sort all the products by price from high to low, and as we can see, it's working. Then I want to see just the new arrivals. It changes, or even sorting by price from low to high. So definitely the sort by is working. Let's see if I can get just some product categories like men beachwear and vans and longboards and kids. Yeah, this one is also working, and I can add like the price, so I can go again from low to high. So definitely working. The colors, if I select multicolor, I got a product. If I select, I don't know, black, I got another product, so it's working. And when it comes to sizes, sizes in this case are for bikinis and vans. So if I go with size 7, so it looks like I have vans on this size. But if I want to swap these to bikinis, I can go to maybe like L, M, XL, S. So it looks like these are all a match to that. So yeah, looks like this is all working. And yes, this was a very long tutorial. I also didn't expect this to be this long, but yeah, this is a project based in logic and a lot of stuff, so it's not just building basic components and rendering them all together. So yeah, do not forget you have access to the source code, and if you have any doubts, just let me know in the comments. Bye!